Hi everybody. So I'm Sarah Milburn. I'm the medical director of the newborn nursery here at Sinai. So I'm one of the pediatricians, and this is our first lunch and learn, which I forgot to record while I was actually having lunch with the nurses and learning. But I'm back in my office. I'm going to say it all again. The first time, so little hiccups, but in the future I'll try and record while I'm actually talking with the nursing staff. Anywho, so. This first topic that we were going to talk about is hepatitis B, and specifically when mom is Hep B positive, the things that we need to think about and why this is important for the newborn. So hepatitis B is a virus that causes liver damage and liver disease. And so if a mom or any adult acquires hepatitis B, like if I got a needle stick and I had hepatitis B infection right now, chances are 6 months from now, I'd have about a 95% chance of not having hepatitis B anymore. My immune system would have cleared it out and I wouldn't have it long term. However, with a newborn, because everything with newborns is different, their immune systems are not the same as adults. They're not able to stop the virus from replicating and making more and more and more of itself. So 90% of those babies, instead of clearing the infection the way adults do, 90% of those babies go on to have chronic hepatitis B, where they could have it for years or their lifetime. And a quarter of those babies who get chronic Hep B will go on to have liver failure and cirrhosis, or hepatocellular carcinoma, which is cancer of the liver. So those kids who get that are at increased risk then of having death in young adulthood. And I can speak from experience that I took care of a boy when I was a resident here who we presume got hepatitis B during birth, and he came in at 17 with all sorts of problems. We diagnosed him with liver cancer, and a few months later he passed away. So he was 17 years old and he died of liver cancer because of something that happened when he was born. And we have things that can prevent that outcome. So that is why we care so much about the proper management and identification of the moms, so that we can prevent that happening from down the road if babies get exposed. So what do we do? And how do we go about preventing this whole situation from becoming a tragedy? So every mom in every single pregnancy has to get tested for hepatitis B. And when you're testing, what you're specifically testing for is the hepatitis B surface antigen. Antigens are like little ID cards on the cells that tell you whose body it belongs to, or whether it's a human, whether it's a virus, whatever it is. And your body uses those antigens in order to make antibodies against it. And those antibodies recognize that specific antigen and know what it is, whether it belongs there or not. If it doesn't belong there, it kills it. So if I get a vaccine for measles, or if I get exposed to a cold or whatever it is, my body sees this new antigen that doesn't belong there, makes antibodies, fights off whatever's going on, and then those antibodies stay with me for life. So if I ever get exposed to measles again, or if I ever get exposed to that same cold virus again or whatever, my body recognizes it and it kills it right away before it really sets in and causes an infection. So if a mom has hepatitis B surface antigen, it means she has hepatitis B. She is infected with hepatitis B. That is the only way the antigen is, that ID card is in your system. If the mom is hepatitis B surface antibody positive, it means she's immune to hepatitis B. She was exposed to that antigen either through a vaccine when she was a kid, or through getting exposed to hepatitis B from a needle stick or whatever it was, and her body made the antibody, and now she is immune to hepatitis B. So if that virus ever comes into her system again, she fights it off right away. So when we're testing a mom, we're specifically testing for the hepatitis B surface antigen. Sometimes a practitioner will also test for hepatitis B surface antibody to see whether she's immune or not, and sometimes that can cause confusion. Because if the mom is antibody positive and antigen negative, she's fine. But if she's antigen positive and antibody negative, then she has it. And that's so easy to get confused about. And so it's important to always remember that the thing that we care about is the antigen. That is what you're looking for when you're reviewing mom's serologies and you're looking for hepatitis B. You're not just looking for the word hepatitis B, you're looking for the word hepatitis B surface antigen. okay? So if a mom has it, and there's nothing to do during the pregnancy other than constantly remind the mom that your baby is going to need things as soon as they're born. And the things that they need is the Hep B vaccine and HBIG. HBIG, or HBIG, stands for hepatitis B immunoglobulin. What that is if I drew blood from a whole bunch of people in America and I filtered out all of the antibodies specifically against hepatitis B, and I put it in a shot and I give it to the baby, I just gave them HBIG. So it's just pooled antibodies that recognize this antigen specifically and know it's not supposed to be there. Because the baby's body doesn't have those antibodies yet. It doesn't know that this doesn't belong. So we're giving them that until their body makes it for themselves. If you just give the vaccine, and that's it, there's 75% decreased risk that the baby would get hepatitis B. If you give the vaccine only during 12 hours, that's not good enough. If you only give the HBIG in the first 12 hours, 71% decreased risk of hepatitis B. Not good enough. So that's why we give both of them together within the first 12 hours. You give the vaccine and you give the HBIG within 12 hours of birth, and that gives 95% decreased risk of the baby getting hepatitis B. So it is so essential that we recognize any mom who is positive, recognize any mom who is unknown, give the baby the things that they need in order to prevent this from happening. But even if we do that with every mom that's Hep B positive or whatever, there's always the chance that we make a mistake. Someone misinterpreted labs, someone only sent the antibody instead of the antigen, a mom happened to be engaging in unsafe practices in the meantime, or she traveled to a country, or who knows what, and she somehow gets exposed to hepatitis B during the pregnancy, and she converts to being positive. There's different things that could happen that puts babies at risk then. And it's such a catastrophic thing to happen if a baby gets hepatitis B, and it is so entirely preventable that now the recommendations have changed to not just give the vaccine at the first pediatrician visit or give it at 2 months with the other vaccines or whatever. It's that every single baby should get the birth dose of hepatitis B before they go home from the hospital. That was the recommendation recently, and it's even become a bigger recommendation that maybe not even wait until the end of the hospital stay. Try to give it to everybody within 12 hours. Because if you give it to every baby within 12 hours, if someone happened to slip through the cracks and they weren't recognized as being Hep B positive, one of the moms, then we've still given that baby 75% protection against hepatitis B. So there's various things that a hospital can do to make it more likely that all those babies will get the vaccine during that time. There's various things the hospitals can do in order to make sure that no mom gets missed as being Hep B positive. And so those are all things that are going to be a big focus here for us in the coming months, and you're going to hear all about those. But in the meantime, I want to give you a little background information on hepatitis B so you guys understand why it is that you're doing the things that you do. And when we come to you and we're like, this is a new thing that we're really pushing for, we want everyone to get it within 12 hours, you understand why. And so then when you're talking to those families and you're telling them it's now standard of care for every baby to get it within 12 hours of life, even though you tested negative during the pregnancy, you understand why, where that comes from. Okay? So I hope that this was helpful. I'm always around if you have any questions, and I'll keep making these videos periodically and having these lunch and learns with you guys. And if you have any questions that you'd specifically like me to answer and talk about the pediatrician perspective on like why we do certain things with newborns that we do, or the biology behind it, I'm more than happy to do whatever topics you guys would like. Okay? All right, take care. Bye-bye.